This has been Strictly Ball Business.
Strictly ball business.
Strictly ball business.
I like that video.
Shit.
Oh, the dumpster fire of the NBA. The team everyone loves to talk about, even though they don't deserve to be talked about right now. And that's the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm glad they're a dumpster fire. They're like my least favorite NBA team. Just because they get whoever they want. Because they're the fucking Lakers. Shooting. Let's talk about shooting. Obviously, they're dead last in shooting in the NBA. Man, what do they do? What do they do?
They need to tell Russell Westbrook to stay home. Like, they absolutely, I think, would be a better team if he just didn't even play at all. Like, I mean, I can't imagine what he's really adding to the team. I know defensively he's been pretty okay and he's get some steals. Like, that's cool and all. But shooting wise, he's downright atrocious. And he just shot 8 threes in the last game, which should never, ever happen. Yet the game before that, I think he shot 6 threes. And it just doesn't make sense why he continues to shoot so much when, like, the numbers have said for years he cannot shoot. But he just says, like, oh, I can shoot. And it's like, statistically, no, you cannot. Like, anybody can have that conversation with him and just put the numbers in front of him and say, these are facts. You cannot shoot.
Yeah.
And at this point, you can barely even drive the ball.
Yeah. So this is kind of crazy to look at a team like this. I'd say 3 Hall of Fame players. Depends how AD finished his career, but it's his to lose, I think. 3 Hall of Fame players. And they're dangerously close to being one of the most inefficient teams of all time per the Z score, which is a whole bunch of numbers I'm not even going to explain. But they're dangerously close to being one of the most inefficient teams of all time. Right now, they're sitting at 29th in field goal, 30th in 3-point, 12th in free throw. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, actually, it's not completely his fault. We like to blame Russell Westbrook, but the fact is, I mean, there's some dumb shot. Let's look at LeBron. He's been doing some dumb stuff. Almost 5 turnovers a game, which is outrageous because they're 15th in turnovers, which is amazing. Their best shooter is Austin Reeves, who shoots four 3-pointers a game, and he shoots 40%. LeBron James, and from their second best shooter from Austin Reeves at 40% is LeBron James at 25%, and he shoots the most threes in the game. He takes these dumb half court shots with 18 seconds left on the clock. LeBron just has no bag anymore. They're 9th in 3-point attempts, dead last in efficiency. There's a lot of issues here. Surprisingly though, their defense isn't that bad. They're 4th in defense. I do think 80s. That's where like all the talent of 80 is coming in on that end of the half. Offense falls off. They're dead last in offense. Worse than the Magic. The turnover. Wait, what's that note? I can't even read what that note says. But falls off 5 points a game. Oh yeah. So outside of their top 3 scorers, AD, LeBron, Russell Westbrook, the next best scorer next to Russell Westbrook, who scores like 10 points a game, is a 5-point per game Austin Reeves. They have no offense. They're unable to do anything. They're 20th in assists, 22nd in rebounding. Everything's falling apart. And the stats say Russell Westbrook is their best offensive player. Better than LeBron, better than AD. So that's their problem. I don't think it's completely him. I think it's the whole fucking team.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is the team construction, which is because they've got so much money invested in these 3 guys. And they've struggled to bring in these replacement or these role players. They brought in Lonnie Walker, who's been a pretty decent scorer so far for them, but nobody else really gets buckets. Patrick Beverly hasn't shot well at all.
No.
And like that was a guy that they basically brought back or that they brought to their team because they were like, well, we let Alex Caruso go 2 years ago, and we shouldn't have done that. Now we're going to try and get a player that is kind of like him and maybe can play some defense. Whereas if they had just kept Alex Caruso a couple years ago, he'd be playing for them this year. I think he'd be making a huge difference. Maybe not a big enough difference to really change the way the record looks right now, but certainly in late game matchups, I mean, you put him out there instead of Westbrook, and like, I think you'd be doing great there. So just overall, they've really screwed themselves on these different moves over the years, and they've put themselves in this position, and they've handicapped themselves at this point, and they've really got like 3 choices. It kind of seems like they've already chosen their path, but either it's, trade Westbrook and get whatever you can in giving up those 2 first-round picks to compete this year, or ride it out with what you got, which seems like that's the way they're gonna go. Or option 3, you could trade AD and then get some picks back, and then you could also trade LeBron when he's eligible to be traded. Right now, he's not, since he signed that extension.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think nobody's trading for Russell Westbrook. I think it's the latter 2 choices. Either you ride out Russell Westbrook's contract and then you try to sign a bunch of people that offseason, or you blow it up and trade everyone. I don't think anyone's trading for Russell Westbrook still, but you can get some for LeBron and AD. I think LeBron you can trade in January. AD, I don't think he signed an extension, so really anytime.
Yeah, you could trade AD anytime.
Yeah. So I think certainly all those are options. They're just such a dumpster fire. It's tough to see. And yeah, you're right. They brought in Beverly, which I thought it was a decent amount, because I really like Beverly. I know you like Beverly. But you look at the team makeup. They're like, hey, look what he did for Minnesota. Can he help us on our defense? Their defense, like I said, is 4th. But you have a guy like Pat Bev walk on the Timberwolves. Everyone's listening to him. They're like, oh, that's Pat Beverly. He's the veteran for all of us. No, we're all going to listen to him. Cat, they all fall in line. You have Pat Bev walks into a locker room with Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. Who the fuck's listening to Pat Bev? They're all going to be like, no, you listen to me. Because all of them garner that respect, and it's not really a team anymore at that point. I'm not trying to assume that's what happens, but I can only assume that his effect is going to, even if it's the best effect it could be, it's going to be less on the Lakers. Far less, because he doesn't have their ear.
Yeah, the voice is going to resound differently to a couple of guys who already won a championship together a couple seasons ago, and LeBron's won other ones. So it's hard for Pat to come in and be an alpha dog when they've already got their alpha in LeBron. But, they kind of needed that defensive voice, you would think, or at least a good defender. But, I mean, yeah, a lot of Pat's value is making others better. And what he did with the Wolves made a lot more sense, because he was pretty much the veteran of that team. He was older than everyone, and he had gone further in the playoffs than everyone. So he had more clout for sure.
For sure. But that's all I got on the Lakers. Maybe we'll toss together some trades to, maybe what can they do for an AD trade, or what? There's probably a lot out there. I think a sign and trade will eventually be what they do to the Bulls, but that's just me. What do I know? But what do you guys know? Comment that below. Just let me know what you know.
All right, guys, that was strictly ball business, and we loved hearing you.